Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, we'll look at why rent prices are falling across the Metro Phoenix area. Also tonight, a new book investigates the infamous 1976 murder of Arizona Republic reporter Don Bolles. And a local organization looks to unite animal rescue groups to better share resources. Those stories and more next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your public television station.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Rents are down in the Metro Phoenix area. Indeed, rents are declining, in the Valley's 10 biggest cities, and they're not expected to increase for the rest of the year. To learn more, we welcome Catherine Rieger. She's senior real estate reporter for the Arizona Republic and azcentral.com. Good to see you. Always a pleasure.
Good to see you, Ted.
So rental prices are falling not just here, but everywhere.
Yeah, they are. And you know, they're falling across Arizona pretty much. A couple places, outliers, where they were increasing, like Lake Havasu. But all across the valley, they're down. And in some cases, down double digits. You know, in Glendale during the past year, 14%.
Do we know why certain areas are down more than others?
It has to do with building, a lot of it, and demand, where people want to live. We had a lot of building in the past few years, which is good because we had a shortage, but most of the building are high-end apartments. They call them high-end apartments. They call them renter by choice. 90% of our apartments built in Metro Phoenix last year were these apartments, the high-end, which the rents are much higher.
Yeah. And so the apartment surge, again, in Arizona, understandable, we're a growing area, but the apartment surge across the country as well. I mean, people living here are not alone and wanting to rent by choice.
Yes, that whole renter by choice. And when we were talking about it, you think about people who retire, you don't want the maintenance nice, you have these new build-to-rents, which are like homes or townhomes. Very nice. They have all amenities. They have garbage valets where you stick your garbage out and they pick it up in the morning. Really nice amenities you don't have to worry about. And you can lock and leave. But also the younger generation, the 20 and the 30s, are deciding not to buy homes.
Is all of this enough for vacancy rates in general to fall?
They have dropped. They have dropped not quite 1%. And that is big impetus for landlords to offer deals.
Yes. What kind of deals are out there? Because it sounds like some of these things are pretty nice.
They are. And, you know, it's first maybe 2 years ago we saw the kind of turn after the huge increases in rents. We saw 1 month free rent. You'd see it on the side of and nice complexes, you know, you'd see it on the side. And then it's like, well, if you go inside, you might get 2 months. And I'm working on this story and working on a story about build-to-rent. I saw on websites 3 months free rent, 12 weeks. So deals are there. You just got to ask for them.
But you got to sign a hefty lease, though, don't you? You can't, you know.
Yeah, I think in most cases it's a year.
Yeah.
6 months is probably less.
Yeah.
You know, and they might entice you to sign more. But compared to where we were in 2022, you know, where it was like up $200 a month, up $200 a month, we were not even going to take you in.
So the difference between 2022 and now is basically what we've been seeing around town. All the cranes, all the construction.
Lots of cranes, lots of construction. And, you know, we had that flux of people come here during the pandemic because much more affordable for the West, much more affordable for the East Coast. I mean, I saw Washington State, California, you know, in a new apartment complex at the end of my block in 2021 and 2022. And they could work remotely and pay much, much less than they did. Well, they got called back. And those rents, you know, and so those apartments we had fewer people, and people living here, making the income here, had to afford the rents.
Yeah, and you mentioned the pandemic. I mean, before the pandemic, prices, they were still what's going on now is basically higher than it was pre-pandemic, correct?
It is. It is still higher than pre-pandemic because we went up more than 40% during the pandemic. And some areas maybe have gone down 10 to 15%. I mean, Glendale's already gone down 14, and they could say they've gone down 17 probably.
So are we saying that the pandemic is still messing with this market?
Well, look, home prices.
Yeah.
If you look at home prices.
Let's look at home prices. What are you seeing?
Well, pre-pandemic, the median home price was in 2019, sadly I have this memorized, was under 300. It's 440. And we've been flat, but it's 440, you know, and you look at that increase. Our incomes are up, which is great and good, but we've had higher paying jobs come in. That doesn't mean it's across the board the incomes are up. You know, we just have, and that's a really good thing, but for somebody making the median income, trying to afford the median rent, not easy.
So, yeah, no kidding. Traditionally, the rental market and the real estate market, how do they intertwine, and is that changing, or that dynamic still pretty much the same?
Yeah, and what's interesting, I'm watching the renter by choice
Yeah.
to see how that, because we're seeing so many apartments, high-end apartments going up, and that construction is up. Home building is pretty flat. So we're not seeing that. And these interest rates have made it tough. 3% during the pandemic is amazing, and seeing that likely. But also, a lot of 20 and 30 somethings don't see real estate buying a home like we did. This is how you build your wealth. This is your home. They see investing, and several polls found this, investing in crypto or even sports betting. They're more comfortable with than investing long-term in real estate. And plus, they want a more mobile lifestyle.
Well, would that suggest, though, that home prices, along with the mortgage rates, which just can't seem to budge all that much, wouldn't that suggest that prices for homes would decline?
I think what's good is we have such great job growth with all of the new companies, TSMC and all of these companies, and that is helping. Home building has slowed. The number of homes on the market have regulated, whereas not as many, so we're not flooding the market. And we've been lucky. I mean, home prices were down a bit last year and are flat so far this year, but after the 50% jump, not seeing anything like that, and not hearing those forecasts. And believe me, I'm watching. We're not like the recession. We talk about this where we have this bubble and these bad loans. It's a different market, and we're lucky here we have all this growth.
So last question here. First of all, is Phoenix maxed out as far as new apartments, as far as vacant apartments are concerned? And secondly, a corollary question. It used to be apartments, rental apartments, you'd convert them to condos and make a whole bunch of money. Are condos now converting to rentals?
In some cases, we've seen that. Yes, we have seen that. But I think the opposite could hold true. And I think developers are that, go back to converting from apartments to condos. And you can see the way they're developing to do that. And I'm sorry, first question.
No, the fact that we're maxed out. Do you think we're maxed out?
I think we're going to slow down. And I think that's a lot of things. People are watching the economy, they're watching gas prices, they're watching construction costs. And so we're just a little bit on hold right now. And you see a lot of apartments in the planning stages, but the developers are just holding.
Interesting. Catherine Raygard, again, Arizona Republican, azcentral.com. Always good information. Good to have you here.
Thank you. Great to be here.
I'm Chef Mark Charbel. Welcome to Check Please Arizona, the show where Arizona residents recommend their favorite restaurants. In this episode, it's all in the family with restaurants run by relatives serving up Italian, Mexican, and all-day dishes.
It feels like a hidden gem. The food is excellent, the service is great. Everything about it just feels like a special experience.
You like bacon, it seems. Like everything you talked about had a bacon or shrimp. Watch Thursday at 7 p.m. on Arizona PBS.
Across Arizona's vast desert landscapes, water and stone tell the story of time.
I did change into my water shoes for this.
Over millions of years, water has worked as an artist, painstakingly carving directly into the landscape. From the fiery orange walls of Sedona to the desert washes and the rare Arizona waterfall, the long dialogue between water and stone endures. Watch Thursday at 7:30 p.m. on Arizona PBS.
I'm a young person who found Martha Graham and fell in love with it.
Dancing appears glamorous, easy, but the path is not easier than any other.
Martha Graham, a woman of great mystery and talent.
To be a Graham dancer is a beautiful thing.
Friday night at 8 on Arizona PBS.
The 1976 car bomb murder of Arizona Republic reporter Don Bolles raised a number of questions and all sorts of speculation as to why Bolles was targeted and who was involved. Investigations, convictions, the overturning of some of those convictions, they've only led to more questions as the years pass. A new book takes on some of those questions. The book is titled Murder in the Fourth Estate, The Assassination of Investigative Journalist Don Bolles. And the author is local journalist Jeremy Duda, who works for Axios Phoenix. We should note that Jeremy's wife works for Arizona PBS. Jeremy, good to have you here. Congratulations on the book. Why a book on the Don Bolles murder?
I was always fascinated by the case. I mean, just as a native Arizonan, as a journalist here, as someone who really loves his state's history, I'd been fascinated with the case my entire adult life. I'd read everything there was about it, but it always bugged me that there was never a comprehensive history of the case that I could read. And eventually, I decided I was going to set out to write the book that I wanted to read and kind of enter that into the historical record.
When we were talking 50 years ago, was it difficult to find something new?
You know, not really. I guess it depends on what you define as something new, because to people who'd followed the case really closely, a lot of this information was known but never widely reported. But so much of it was under the surface, behind the scenes. It was in the Attorney General's case file. We're talking 150 bankers' boxes full of documents. If you want to dig back through decades of news coverage, pour through all those files, I mean, there's stuff that your average person, even most people who know the case well, have never heard of, have never seen. So to most people, even people who follow the case pretty closely, there will be a lot of stuff that's new in this book.
Interesting. That's good to hear. For those who aren't familiar with Don, I know a lot of folks have come and gone here from since 1970. Who was Don Bolles, and what did he focus on as far as his reporting? Because I think that's key.
Well, Don Bolles was an investigative reporter who came here to Arizona in 1962 to work for the Republic. Quickly established himself as a top-notch investigative reporter covering government corruption, covering the mafia, covering land fraud, covering the state dog racing industry. Those are the things that he probably really became most well-known for, is pulling back the covers on a lot of mafia infiltration here, exposing a lot of shenanigans in the local dog racing scene, and the land fraud epidemic, which was land fraud was really one of the state's biggest industries back in the 1960s, early 1970s, and people who knew about it in Arizona, they probably knew about it because they read Don Bolles' reporting.
Yes, indeed. And why was he at the Clarendon Hotel on June 2nd?
Well, he was at the Clarendon Hotel because a man named John Harvey Adamson had reached out to him and told him, hey, I've got some information about some political corruption. You need to hear this. I've got a source from San Diego who's going to spill the beans. Meet me at the Clarendon around 11:15 this morning. So Bolles showed up. Waited in the lobby for about 10 minutes. Phone rang. Clerk said, all right, hey, are you Mr. Bolles? There's a call for you. It was John Adamson. John Adamson said, hey, the source got cold feet. Meeting's off. I'll talk to you later. Bolles thought that was that. Didn't expect much. He thought it was probably a setup aimed at a congressman named Sam Steiger to begin with. He did not believe this man had good information, but figured he was going to hear him out. No harm, no foul. Goes out to his car to head off to his next meeting. Starts to back up, and a remote-controlled detonator exploded a bundle of dynamite under the driver's side of his Datsun.
And his last words implicated John Harvey Adamson, and John Harvey Adamson implicated other people. And as going through, obviously, the story, we had convictions. We had overturned convictions. We had Adamson not testify. He goes into witness protection. I mean, you could write a Russian novel about something like this.
You could. It was, I think, probably the reason this book had never been written is because there was so much to tell. This case dragged on for so long. John Adamson took a plea deal after about 6 months and, testified that a contractor named Max Dunlap had hired him to kill Bolles at the behest of Kemper Marley, which is a local liquor magnate, one of the richest and most influential people in town. Dunlap and a plumber named Jimmy Robeson, who was a friend of Adamson's and whom he alleged had built and detonated the bomb. They were both convicted, sentenced to death. A few years later, those convictions were overturned. Adamson ended up getting convicted and sentenced to death. That conviction, that death sentence was eventually overturned, and eventually there was a grand jury. There was a new round of murder charges. Cases went back to trial in 1983. Dunlap was convicted. Robeson was acquitted.
Yeah, and Adamson goes in witness protection. They all died. I believe Dunlap died in prison, correct?
Dunlap died in prison in, I believe, 2008. Robeson, he ended up getting out. He actually had to spend about 5 years in federal prison after he was acquitted because he was found guilty of, or he pleaded guilty to plotting to kill Adamson before he could testify in his trial in 1993.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of big names. You mentioned some of them, but a lot of big names some people were familiar with, some people were not. But big names floated all over the place as possibly being a reason. There was dog racing, there were liquor licenses, there was the mafia, there was land fraud, as you mentioned. Does your book get any closer as to why this happened?
I wish I could say I had a definitive conclusion here. And when I started out, I said I'm not going to try and prove who did or didn't kill Bolles. I feel like my goal was really to give people the information they needed to make that determination. But it's hard to say that it really exposes, who did this, because there's still so many unanswered questions. Adamson was not the most reliable of narrators. He's obviously trying to save his own skin and stay off death row, at least at first. So there's still a lot of unanswered questions that I think probably died with a lot of the witnesses and a lot of the people who knew more, many years ago.
And it continues on into lore with yours as the latest definitive account. I know the investigative reporters and editors, the IRE, which came out here and flooded the landscape immediately afterwards. I know there was a book involved there. Was that helpful to you?
That was. I think that gave me a lot of insight into kind of the state of the case very early on, really what Arizona was like at the time. This was kind of the modern Wild West back in the 70s. A lot of people had come here from elsewhere trying to start over, didn't really want folks to know kind of what they'd been done before. It was kind of a free-for-all. I mentioned the land fraud and the mafia. People were coming out here for a quick buck, not always the most honest buck. But that was very helpful, not necessarily for the case itself, because they weren't trying to investigate the Bowles case. They figured there's a lot of people doing that. What investigative reporters and editors want to do is kind of investigate the climate out here that led someone to decide that they could kill a reporter, and to kind of create an insurance policy. Say, you want to kill one of us, there's going to be 100 more of us show up, and we're just going to turn the state upside down.
And with that in mind, this event is a landmark for those who've lived in the Valley for a long, even if you haven't lived here for that long. This is a benchmark in terms of the history of Phoenix and in Arizona. Did this event change Arizona, change Phoenix?
It's hard to say that it did. I think Phoenix changed because this happened in a period of massive growth that began at the end of World War II and really continued. Even 10 years later, Phoenix was such a different place. Arizona was such a different place because of the growth. 20 years later, it's pretty much unrecognizable now. So I don't know that I would necessarily say that a lot changed directly because of Bowles, but I think a lot of the things that were so prominent in a negative way about the state at the time changed with the times, as Arizona grew and became a much more, modern and larger state.
When's the book released?
April 16th.
April 16th. I can't wait to read it. Jeremy Duda, Murder in the Fourth Estate, the assassination of investigative journalist Don Bowles. Congratulations on the book, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Heidi's Village is an animal shelter in Phoenix that works to support other local shelters by providing a hub for collaboration, innovation, and life-saving support. Joining us now is Lori Walsh, who's Development Director at Heidi's Village. Also with us is Matthew, who's with you. Yes. And I've got Maggie. I've got little Margaret here. Yeah. Do we have a shot of, there's Matthew. Yeah, can we get a shot of of the rambunctious little
He's a
Margaret
little
here?
wiggly.
You're okay. Give me a better definition of Heidi's Village. I know changing lives one paw at a time is your motto there.
Yeah, well, yeah. So you said it really well in the opening. We are a resource center for all the rescues and shelters in the valley. So the way we do that is we provide low-cost boarding and vet care so they can save more lives. So literally, we're here to support all the other organizations, animal welfare organizations.
So how does it work? Let's say Maggie and Matthew, let's say that they're out there and another group has them. Do they take them to you if they don't have the space for? How does that work?
Yeah, so the kittens usually come to us from like Good Samaritans that are finding them, right? It's kitten season right now. So these guys are getting born left and right, and people, and he is so wiggly, people will find them and they'll bring them to us. And we have a 24/7, 365-day kitten nursery.
Wow.
So that's how the kitten side works. So the dog side is actually, we have a ton of rescue partners.
Yeah.
And so they need extra space and they need affordable vet care. So they actually, when their fosters are full, or maybe even their own facility is full, we are an extension of their rescue with space and vet care.
And the vet care is an important thing, isn't it?
Yeah, most of the animals that come to us need some kind of vet care. They have medical and or behavioral issues, so that's something else we help with, is we have a full behavior team.
Do you have behavioral issues?
Of course, they got all wiggly right when we got on here.
I've told Maggie that she does not have behavioral issues.
Yeah, she doesn't.
Don't listen to
No,
you because
no.
she's going to have some sort of complex here. That got to be a big site then, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are about 5 acres, and we can hold about 250 dogs. So it's a pretty big property. We love to have people out for tours. So definitely, if you're interested in learning more about us, you can go on our website and fill out a tour info form.
You mentioned behavior in a certain respect. In terms of making a match for an owner, it sounds like behavior is a pretty big deal, isn't it?
It is, and that's why we have the behavior staff, right? We have people that are experts, and they're not just dog trainers, they're animal behaviorists. So they help assess these animals and make sure that we are getting them the help they need, and then also, to your point, making sure that they get the right matches. So that's information we give back to the rescue. Hey, this is what this dog is suitable for.
Yeah. As far as the history, now this was started in 2020?
Yeah, so we're relatively new.
Yeah. Inspiration?
So our founder, Ginny, is a saint to begin with, and you know what happened is she was donating to animal welfare for decades, and what she kept seeing the same thing over and over again is that the rescues just didn't have support. You know, they're these small organizations with amazing people that do a lot of good, but what if they had a support system?
Yeah, and to promote them also, promote the animals and the programs as well, correct?
Yep. And every rescue is different, and they all do things differently. So we're here to help them do things the way they do, and whoever they focus on. Like they're breed specific, or some like the medical cases, some like senior dogs. So they all have their little niche, and we're here to help them save more of those.
Is there a fostering program involved here?
Yes, well, especially for these kittens. So right now, that is something we're always in need of. Fosters help extend our space, right? So our nursery is totally full right now. But if we can get more people fostering and getting these guys out of there, then we can open up a kennel for another kitten to come in.
And again, these other organizations, everyone's working together here.
Everybody's
There's no
working
silos, no competition. It's like
collaboration is that's one of our pillars, right? Is we are here to bring everyone together and to work together, because we all have a niche, we all have a place.
Do you need volunteers?
We do. We always need volunteers. They can help us with all kinds of tasks around our facility, walking our dogs. They help socialize our kittens. So we have all kinds of things volunteers can do.
So for people that are interested in being a volunteer, do they just give
Go on
you
the
a call,
website.
go on the website?
Yep, HeidisVillage.org, and you can sign up to be a foster and a volunteer on our website.
So is every animal there in need of some kind of rehabilitation or medical or behavioral?
Pretty much. It's rare that one comes in that doesn't need some extra help, right?
But you're talking dogs? Or
and both, kittens and dogs. So a lot of the kittens we get in, they're sick too. They've been living outdoors. They may not have had the best nutrition. So we have to end up doing quite a bit of work with almost every animal that comes in our door. Oh my God, will you sit still?
Good luck with that.
Yeah, right?
The vets that you work with, are they voluntary vets? How does that
So
work?
those are actually, our vet staff is a paid staff. So we do have a decent number of paid employees because our level of care is really high. We keep talking about these medical cases, behavioral cases, so they need experts to help them. So yeah, we have paid staff.
And if someone's watching right now and they think Maggie is just the be-all and end-all, or they think Matthew is a hoot, do they come down?
Yes. Well,
What is the process like?
Yeah, for kittens, they can come down. So these guys will be available in about 2 weeks. They're only 6 weeks old now, so they have obviously a little bit more fostering to do. So they're very social. And then in about 2 weeks, they'll come in, they'll get their surgery, and then they'll be ready for adoption. So right now, we've got quite a few waiting in the wings to come out to our adoption facility. So. You may not see any right this second, but they'll be available soon.
Okay, and you mentioned it originally in 2020, Heidi's Village, the name itself. Mm-hmm. That comes from the inspiration, the originator?
Yeah, so the founder, one of her dogs that she helped, she basically took on from a person who had passed, was named Heidi.
Oh, so that's where that is.
Yeah, so back to the safety net, right? And being a safety net for all of these animals in the valley, and that's where Heidi came from.
Well, all right, Margaret, it looks like you're getting ready to go back home. It's been a pleasure meeting you, and Matthew, I think it's been a pleasure. I don't know if I've met him or not.
I think I got his happy place.
Yeah, yes, he is. And Lori, thank you as well for being here, and thank you for the great job you're doing.
Thank you for having us. We really appreciate it.
That's it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
When you want to be more inspired, Arizona PBS delivers unforgettable experiences in music, theater, and the arts, thanks to members like you. And
so many Arizonans are